Thank you, dear colleagues, dear Secretary Blinken, Undersecretary Seiya. Costa Rica welcomes the leadership of the government of the United States of America in addressing one of the most devastating health emergency and security threats our societies currently face, the illicit use of synthetic drugs. Illicit drug markets continue to expand in terms of harm as well as scope, with the relentless spread of synthetic drugs around the world. It has been reported that most drugs use disorders are related to opioids, which are also the drugs that lead most people to seek drug treatment, being opioids the most lethal one. Drug use disorders and harming the health, including the mental health, safety, and well-being of our populations. Furthermore, the illicit trafficking of synthetic drugs contribute to instability, violence, and ignite the global challenges, such as environmental degradation. The way in which markets operate, with the easy availability of information enabling widespread manufacture and the increasing use of online communication platforms, reducing barriers to entry for criminals, require urgent and coordinated action. Tackling these challenges requires an open, inclusive, collaborative approach based on the best available interdisciplinary evidence. Costa Rica, therefore, strongly supports this coalition which will contribute to the design and implementation of regional and global policies and actions to comprehensively address the threats posed by synthetic drugs with a human-centered approach. During the last G20 leaders meeting, for the first time, illicit synthetic drugs were recognized as a global health and security threat. This initiative is thus not only timely, it is imperative, and it provides the space to take decisive measures to provide affected populations with essential public health interventions and access to treatment, prevention, and recovery tools to reduce overdose deaths, but also to set in place and implement actions to detect emerging drug threats and to prevent the illicit manufacturing and trafficking of these drugs. Consequently, structural and economic inequalities, harmful socio-cultural norms, gender-based inequalities, and gender-based violence need to be tackled. In this regard, it is important to pay attention to the continuing deficiencies in the availability of treatment, especially for women who, according to the 2023 World Drug Report, account for almost half the people who use amphetamine-type stimulants, but only 27% of those receiving treatment. In recognizing the only way to advance towards more inclusive and fair societies, we must step up our efforts to fully implement the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. In this vein, Costa Rica has aligned its national strategy on drugs and related crimes, 2020-2030, and its action plan to achieve its goals, as well as this critical priority, providing guidelines to the competent authorities, both at the preventive and repressive levels. Given the transnational nature of the illicit trafficking in drugs, this global problem cannot be effectively tackled without a coordinated action. From this perspective, international cooperation, including mutual legal assistance, the information sharing, technical assistance, especially related to modern technologies and equipment, is essential. Our region likewise requires cooperation to implement adequate and timely social and public health measures necessary for a comprehensive approach, keeping in mind the thousands of victims this global crisis is leaving behind, making it imperative to be addressed from a human rights perspective. Costa Rica supports and welcomes all regional, interregional, and global work carried out within the framework of mechanisms as the OAS, the EU, CELAC, COPOLAT, CND, WHO, to the synthetic drug phenomenon. States must take advantage of all these fora, highlighting a coordinated approach of all these efforts is required to have a more cohesive impact. We encourage more states to join this coalition without losing sight of the fact that this initiative is not an end in itself, but a starting point on which to complement, develop, and advance more comprehensive and effective actions and policies. The government of Costa Rica commits itself to work actively and constructively in the different formats of these working groups. Thank you very much.